Hey guys, today we're going to be looking at the new Pokemon movie, which is coming out on Blu-ray and DVD, which is titled Pokemon The Movie Volcanion and the Mechanical Marvel, and I got that right, I kept saying magical. So let's jump into the review. The movie opens up with the generic, Pokemon, this is what it is. Now it's added Mega Evolution, and that's pretty much it. But do we need this at the very beginning of every single film? Because by now, I think we all should know what it is, rather than just going like, oh yeah, it's Pokemon. It's the, there are creatures in the world, Pokemon. Here is Ash and blah de blah. But I do love it when we get the full-on intro music, and it's like full-on coolness. It's like a up to beat one. I still think the first one will always be my favorite. It's just really, really catchy. The movie starts off with Volcanion. I'm probably gonna get his name wrong, but that's how I keep hearing it. So he lands on this kind of airship that these bad guys are just driving, and suddenly we see Mega Evolution, but they call it Mega Wave, and it looks every single time that these Pokemon Mega Evolve, it really hurts them compared to what we've seen originally, where it's just kind of they allow it and it flows through them. It actually looks like it's hurting them and forcing them to actually Mega Evolve. Now it's Volcanion, but the way it's spelled, it feels like it's Volcanion. So I'm going to call it Volcanion because that's what it is. Bad guys attach a ring to Volcanion's leg, and it knocks him all the way down after this whole blast of these Mega Evolution Pokemon, and he just literally falls to the ground covered in ice, and you just know where he's gonna go. Now we switch to Ash and the others, and they're Pokemon battling, and as I said before, when they do movies, I absolutely love that they put the intro really hardcore beat, or it's just completely different, and that's one thing that's to me is the best part of the entire Pokemon film, is just that one piece of music. Ash is fighting Clement, I think it is, and he uses Luxray. He uses an electric Pokemon, and Ash uses an electric Pokemon, and I think Luxray, he just absorbs the electricity. He just absorbs it, where Pikachu doesn't, and in fact, I'm like, what? You should be able to it should be fine, it shouldn't hurt you. Now we have Volcanion, he just comes straight in and he crash lands into where Ash is training, and all the others are just kind of there, and it's like, boom! Yeah, that's fun, but at this time, a kind of ring goes around Ash, and you're like, oh, what's that? It's an ingenious thing, and I actually do really like it. But it goes around Ash, and Ash gets flung out, and Volcanion is just there. You're like, oh, what? So as I said, these bands, they connect with electromagnetic pulse, which is really cool. I really liked that sort of kind of idea that they had. When it attaches to Ash, if Ash or Volcanion move out of range of each other, they instantly go back together, and I really kind of think this was really cool. So when Volcanion's like, get away from me, what are you doing, go, Ash has to follow, and it's like, no, I'm there, I'm stuck, I can't, and that to me was actually quite funny, because you can see this being used in some sort of way, but it also means that they can't escape, and if they don't get it off it somehow, they're going to be stuck forever, and Ash is never going to be able to continue his Pokemon journey. So you're kind of introduced to new characters quite abruptly, and they don't really tell you their names. Normally they say it once or twice, but at this point I couldn't understand who the characters were. But you seem to have these poachers, and then you have this small kid. And I kind of thought originally he was going to be evil, but he's just kind of misled. And I did actually write down at the very beginning when I was watching and reviewing at the same time that this kid was going to be dead evil. He was going to be grr. That's what it was. So these poachers give a Pokemon to the prince and his friends, and this is a rare Pokemon. We're introduced to a new character. Now when I first heard his name, I thought it was Roly. That's how they was pronouncing it, and that's what they were saying, but it's like Roily. So I'm gonna call him Roly, and this is his name, but I'm gonna call him Roly because all the way through, that's how you hear his name, and that's pretty much it. At this point, Volcanion has just cheesed it. He's legging it, he's running away, and Ash is kind of having to keep up. And I've got to say, dear God, he is a fast runner. He just was cheesing it, he was keeping up. But if that was me and I knew that this was gonna like drag me along, I would just be like kind of surfing it. I'd just be like all the time, or I would just lie on the ground and let it drag. Oh no, that would dirty up my clothes. No, I would definitely like or put some sort of like surfboard or something alongside so I wouldn't get hurt. So at the point then Volcanion decides, do you know what? Gonna fly. Just gonna fly away using my powers. I'm guessing it's steam, which again I'm going to talk about Volcanion at the very end, but he just flies off towards the city and Ash is just like, yeah, and then grabs onto his leg. They start having discussions like, get away from me, how, you know, get off me, but it's interrupting the weight and how he kind of flies. But you kind of think that as soon as like Ash or anything is like on top of you, you'd be able to kind of fly normally and go, right, okay, I've balanced myself out. Here we go. Now, this is something that I never would have thought I would see properly, but Team Rocket are enjoying a meal. They're sat down in the city and they're not doing anything, they're not bothering anyone. But then Ash comes along and just they slam into them and it's just like, boom, no, we're not, you know, we're going to disrupt your meal, but whoa, don't know, oopsie, and then they fly off, and then you kind of see Team Rocket go, huh, the twerp's here, I wonder what could happen, you know, something big is going to come down. This is the Kingdom Aroth, or Adroth. I think it's more Adroth than it is, and the kingdom looks really nice. This is where we find out that the poachers have a rare Pokemon, a one of a kind, and it's a rabbit Pokemon. It's all mechanical. You see them like looking out over this whole city with the rabbit Pokemon, which we're going to talk about, which you'll find her name out in a little bit. And I really like the fact that when they're talking, you just see Ash going, whoa! And it only happens kind of once before Volcanion lands on the city, and I was like, no, have that at least a few times. That would to me would have been the second best part of this entire film, and it just really kind of like made me laugh. But yeah, you didn't really see it, and Volcanion just lands on top looking at all these other people. Magearna! This is the rabbit Pokemon that the little boy wants, Rolly wants, and I kind of really liked it. I liked the Gearna part. I think that was really cool for a name. But as Volcanion is now gearing up to fight these bad guys, more Pokemon come out. So now we see Mega Evolution again as Mega Wave. And in this, the fight is over really quickly. It must have been over in with about say 20 seconds, 15 seconds, something like that. With the two attacks, which is Psychic and Ice Beam, and it just literally knocks out Volcanion completely. We now switch to like a separate part where it's like a secret organization. They're looking at what's happening, and we find out that this is the princess who is Rolly's sister. Well, the elder sister, should I say. Find out, I think it's like Nikolai or Nikki or whatever. He invented this person. This is a guy that lived many years ago, centuries ago or something like that, and he created, and the whole city, as they start speaking, is all about how like certain Pokemon have certain abilities. So he built machines to simulate these creations, their powers, so they could be used in everyday life. And this I really liked. It's like, oh, why aren't there more people like this in the Pokemon world? You know, this is a really nice kind of like touch to it to say, like, you know, this whole place was all about Pokemon. We now have Serena and everyone else. They're looking for Ash because, well, you know, they're all friends. But one thing that really annoyed me is that they explained everything just then about 500 years back in the past. Then we had like Nikolai and stuff like that. We had all that, and then I think Clement, he just talks about it. He says the exact same thing again, and I think what would be really nice, and if I was editing this together just to save a little bit of time, I would have had like the other guys talk about it and then lead into it, so he finishes it all off and he continues talking about it. That is what I would possibly do. Now we have Volcanion talking to Metal Geena, and that's it pretty much. Like, you know, he wants to make sure she's safe, and that's fine. I understand that. But then when Ash and the others start trying to talk, he just becomes a dick. He generally just becomes a massive douche, and it's you know that if he didn't have anyone there, he probably would just attack them and say, get away. This to me, like, I can understand, but once you've had this like melt thing and you know that you can't get rid of them, you kind of would adapt to this slowly. But no, this entire conversation that they have, all the stuff that they want to do, they want to help, they want to say stuff, just he doesn't believe them, and he thinks that, boom, you know, they're like every single other human that's been around, that they just don't want to help, and that the fact that they want to cause damage. One thing that also made me laugh is in this whole conversation, when Ash said, you know, we're not bad, Pikachu, I'm guessing, he turns around and says, no, these guys are okay, these guys are fine, they're friends, but Volcanion just says, you little rodent, get away, no one likes you, just go away. And Pikachu just gets really angry, he's like, no! But it's just like, Volcanion's like, no, you're with them, you're with these people, I don't care, just no. And it looks like because he's called Pikachu a nuisance, a little yellow nuisance, which I just found funny, it looks like he's trying to start a fight. We now have this like quick cutaway to Team Rocket being interviewed by the bad guys. Now, it seems like Team Rocket, in pretty much most things, that I always thought they would be the main team, that they wouldn't work for anyone else, like, you know, they'd all stick with Giovanni, but no, they seem to go off and work with the bad guys, and to me, it's just kind of like, why? Just why? So let's talk about this metal belt that connects Volcanion and Ash together. So all of Ash's clothes are scuffed, so this is when, like, Serena comes around the corner and says, hey, I got you some new clothes. And you're like, okay, cool, so you know, maybe they can't change clothes, maybe Ash has to wear these rags for a while, but no, he changes completely, and it's pristine. This is what I don't understand. Like, the belt pretty much looks like it opened so you can put the clothes on and then sealed up against him. And I'm like, no, wouldn't you be able to, with that thin layer, wouldn't you be able to wiggle out of it? Does it expand? How did you get those clothes on? Would you not have, like, your clothes over the belt? These are things that I just was like, what? I couldn't understand. So in this kind of embarrassing situation, the Volcanion creates steam so he can get away and all the others can straight away without detection because they know that the bad guys are going to know where they are. So now we're being properly really introduced to the characters Kimia and Roly. And Roly is a guy of science. He likes looking back at the past so he can build stuff for the future, and Kimia is just saying, look, no, I think we all should look at the future, and that's pretty much it. And this is when you see that they have kind of different ideas on how things are working and they just don't really want to know, and that's it. They just kind of say, like, this is fine, this is it pretty much, let's carry on. I kind of really related to this one scene in its entire film. You have everyone walking and the boys walk off like beforehand because the girls are staying back and they're kind of talking, and they've made Meganium really kind of cute and, like, you know, with bows and stuff, and the boys just kind of walk off and they start talking, and it feels like this could be a really big bonding moment where you find out that, you know, Volcanion and Ash, you know, they're going to accept things, but no, it just seems like they start arguing, and Volcanion can't let this go. So I think Ash holds on to him, and then he gets what I call Pikachu. Now, Pikachu is basically the whole art of when he gets electronically shocked, and he's fine, he just pulls that face of like, ah! And this time, like, Volcanion just Pikachu's Ash. Now I find out that there is this thing called Noble Plateau, and Team Rocket have been drafted. Again, I'm just like, why would you work for someone else when you already work for someone who's got a bigger organization? Just get some more Pokemon too. So they're told that they need to go to the plateau, and this is where Team Rocket go. They have to head there to catch them. We know that this belt just suddenly allows people to put clothes on straight away. So Clemens, he makes a suit. It's called the Iron Defense or something, and when it's meant to stop all attacks, so it nullifies them all, so Ash can be safe from whatever happens on, etc, etc. The suit is a lot bigger than his clothes, and the belt's just bigger around it, and I'm like, really? Why would it be so big? Why can't you just take the belt off? Why can't you just wear the suit and climb out the suit so the suit is big and it keeps the belt and you'll be fine? Gah! Why couldn't it be like a small thing around his arm that would stop him? Oh, it's infuriating. This is really cool, and Team Rocket find them, and suddenly they do, like, they're like, yeah, we're here, and they start battling, but they use Pinsir and they use Heracross, and they have the Mega Evolution Mega Wave thing, and this is really cool. It's really nice to see Team Rocket with new Pokemon. They should have new Pokemon every single time. The whole battle gets kind of interrupted by the princess, and again, Team Rocket blast off like they always do in pretty much every single episode and all movies, effectively. It always happens to them. Volcanion does like this huge, massive blast, knocks everyone like far away, and then they realize that this is the power that Volcanion has. We now find that the main bad guy is called Alva, and he is the one that is manipulating Roly, making him believe that everything that Alva wants to do is the best way, and yet everything else is kind of and that's why he says like, oh, you need this mechanical Pokemon, you know, it's the best, you know, it'll be amazing, and Roly believes everything that he says. Volcanion, Ash, and everyone else are walking to Noble Plateau, but they come across a field that they have to cross, and then suddenly this Pokemon comes that way and tells them, hey, something's going on, follow me, follow me, follow me, and they find another Pokemon called Umbra. Umbra is being hunted down by a Pokemon poacher, who they're basically the whole thing of like, oh, there's a brand new Pokemon, I'm gonna capture it, it's rare. Pretty much Team Rocket, but without a boss. As the Pokemon poacher is defeated, both Volcanion and Umbra are hurt. They take Umbra back to a Noble Plateau, and that's when all the other Pokemon, they're scared of humans. They're pretty much scared. They don't like humans because they're either trainers have just let them go, or they've just generally been hurt, and everyone kind of like hides. Serena decides to heal Umbra, and basically ties it all up and like sprays the Pokemon like potion, which kind of like just heals everyone, which is fine. And then you see it just kind of ice up, and they're like, oh no! And it's like, no. That's how an ice Pokemon works. If it freezes everything up, it means it's going to be fine. At this point, they release their Pokemon and they start kind of like having fun, etc, etc. And we find out that the other Pokemon from Noble Plateau are scared of the other Pokemon because they're trained by humans. Oh no! At this point, they notice that Volcanion is hurt, and then he has to go and heal, but he's like, no, no, I'm gonna go heal at the hot springs. That's what I'm gonna do, and that's where I'll be fine. So they all head up to the Pokemon thing. So Serena stay behind, where Clement and Ash, they go up towards the hot springs, and Ash is dragged in, and all of a sudden it gets, I think, too hot, and the suit just bursts and blasts. The belt doesn't explode either, it stays around Ash's body, and it's just like, hang on a minute. If the suit has exploded, but it has like protect you against like other attacks previously, why isn't there like kind of like the suit like bits of metal kind of just like over the top, like it's been ripped off? No, the belt should have been destroyed at the same time. Oh, they didn't think that one through, did they? Then we have this whole transition of all the Pokemon in Noble Plateau. They're kind of just like trusting everybody. They're getting fed, they're having fun, and that's the whole point of it. So now everyone is kind of like friends. We find that a Glumpen's acid can burn straight through the belt. When they find this information, they take it all the way up to Ash and Volcanion, and they take off Volcanion's belt first, and then Ash's. And Ash is really happy. He's like, yes! Finally, this is really cool. Thank you, Gulpin. Gulpin just cheeses it. He's like, no, 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 no. He's keeping back because he's been hurt and he doesn't trust humans. And at this point, you think that Volcanion would be like, no, cool, you've been good. Thanks, guys. You're helping out with the Pokemon down there. I'm giving you a bit of backstory. You're not running off. But no, Vulcan becomes a dick again and is just really angry towards Ash. And he's like, go, get away from here. Rah! And you kind of think, really? Really, you're just being that guy? You're being that Pokemon? Why? They're not going to run away. They all could have cheesed it and left, but no. They're all being fine. This is when we get some more kind of like a little bit of depressing backstories. As I said before, Gulpin's trainer just left him, and then it's just like, what happened? And it kind of like brings the tone of the film down a little bit. Now we find that Pikachu is defending Ash, and Pikachu is saying, look, not all humans are liars, no cheats or anything. Ash here, he is 100% pure. He is a great guy. He's a good guy. It's impossible for him to lie. And Volcanion's like, no, I don't believe that. And Pikachu's like, no, really, listen, he's the best person ever. At this point, Volcanion is really just angry. But then Ash said, like, eat some food, you'll be fine. And everyone just kind of like really enjoys these like Pokepuffs or whatever they are. They just eat them and they're absolutely fine, and things start getting back on track. We come to the point of the film where all the action is now picking up. We find out that the bad guys have found Noble Plateau, and they've like kind of put Pokemon away. They have this device that when activated can electrify the Pokemon and hurt them, and really hurt them. Ash and Volcanion are kind of trapped in this kind of like electric bubble with stealth rocks as well, so if they move they get hurt. And then all of a sudden we find out that Magina has had this like kind of thing inside her, and this is what the bad guys want. They take her up to the ship, they take out the heart, and this is when Rolly, even when they've picked up Magina and they're like not doing anything, he's like, it's gonna be fine, it's fine, it's fine. So when he takes out the soul heart thing and he just casts the body off like, don't need it, and I'm like, ooh, that got dark all of a sudden. At this point, Volcanion is really angry and just kind of really wants to get there and get Magina back, as well as like just take down the bad guys. Just before the bad guys just disappear completely, a whole volley of like hyper beams just go straight at all the Pokemon there. And you think, oh, they're gonna kill, oh no, Jesus God, because they can't do anything. All the Pokemon are kind of like held back, like Ash can't do anything, Volcanion can't do anything, and then suddenly, like when we've seen like the other Pokemon scatter, some of them went underground, and then they created Safeguard. Now I kind of thought Protect would have been a thing, but no, they used Safeguard to kind of like cover everything, and that's it. You know, nothing can happen again. Boom! You know, they're safe for another day. Now we get two kind of like sympathy clips. We see that Team Rocket really don't want to do this anymore, but they get thrown out, but Meowth gets kept back. And then we get a flashback on how, like, what's going to happen with the city, how the Heart Soul stays inside Meganium, and that's pretty much it. And now we know that what's going to happen is it's all about evil. It's all about evil all the time. Alva turns around and rather than wasting any time, puts the Heart Soul straight into the kind of like machine, and the fortress comes alive and becomes like a defense. This is when we get, I think, another flashback. This is when like Nikolai turns around to Meganium and says, look, no, don't, you know, this is all about destruction. I don't want this, it's going to be safe for you. You know, the thing, I've found this out and I don't like it, and it's best for it to stay inside you, blah, 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 that sort of thing going on. As this is all going, the princess, Ash and all that, they have landed on the fortress. This is what they're going to do. They're going to attack. They want to get the soul back. They want to stop what's going on. This is when we have a huge long battle, and this is the reason why it kept me going, because from previous films I've seen, some of the battles are just over quite quickly, or just not long enough, or satisfying down to some degree. So this is a complete battle where it comes from Mega Evolution to normal, and they just kind of fight. When Volcanion lands, he like blows them all back, and he's beats a lot of them, and then they go straight down into the actual fortress to find out where Alva is and to stop and take back the Soul Stone. Come on, this is what they're going to do. You knew it was coming up. Everyone's joined. They all say that they're going to stop him. They can't move because of some restraints that just appear out of nowhere. In this time, Meowth has said that inside the soul is Megaera. She is still there. She doesn't want to attack anyone whatsoever. And this is when Mean Look is used by Gengar. Now, I thought it would be Hypnosis that would have worked a lot better, but no, Mean Look apparently makes them forget about stuff and whatnot. So, what's gonna happen? It's gonna be an attack on the plateau again. Woo! Meowth's like, no, they're all gone, she's gone, no! And this is when Volcanion's really angry. He wants to power up and just explode, but he's out of water. Pokemon that can't make water is yet a water fire Pokemon. They escape because of the anger. Well, Meganium gone, Alva thinks that he's won. So he is about to attack the plateau. As the beam hits straight towards the plateau, the other Pokemon who have Hyper Beam or attacks, they are basically concentrating on the beam, pushing it back. This is when Squishy calls in all the other like squishy things that are around in the forest, around the area, and creates like a new Megazord form, which looks really cool, but it also reminds me of a Digimon at the same time. And I think Squishy just literally just like forces it back as well. All that happening, Volcanion just breaks the binds. He gets really angry because he's about to create this blast, but realizes he doesn't have enough water or anything to create this blast. So, but pretty much breaks the binds, and that's pretty much it. Small fight happens on the kind of ship with Alva and the others, and then his kind of control over the Mega Evolution Pokemon gets destroyed by his kind of cane or whatnot, and that's it. All the Pokemon return back to normal, and then apparently they're all mind controlled at the same time. who knew? I thought that they were just obeying orders and stuff like that. But no, like everyone turns back to normal and Alva thinks that he's escaped. He's like, see you later! But no, it doesn't. He gets beaten quite easily. They've got the heart soul. They put it back in Megira and what happens? She's broken. She is like, what's the point? Things have been destroyed. I've been the cause of it. You know, typical things that happen in like these sorts of films. At this point, the fortress is heading towards the plateau. There's no way of doing it. It's gonna hit quickly. But Volcanio is like, no, I have to blow it up from here. This will work. Everything will be obliterated. And Ash is like, no, you can't. We'll do this outside. We'll find another way. And Volcanio's like, cool, I'm with you. Let's do this. They cheese it outside. Everyone gets on the ship, and then Volcanio goes back on his word. He's like, no, you guys go. I've got to do this. And like blows them away with the steam. And it's like, nope, your guys have gone. He goes back inside. He boom blows everything up completely, and they're all angry at the fact that Volcanion has done this. You know, the whole plateau is fine. No one has really been hurt, and everyone's like, no, why? And suddenly the steam comes everywhere, and Volcanion's fine. He's like, I'm a little bit hurt. Megira is like, okay, cool, you know, I'm so glad you're fine. And yeah, they all hug up, they all talk about it, and then Volcanion can trust again, and it's like, I have made you all Pokemon, you are here, you can do what you want, you know, come back anytime and you'll be fine. And then generally, that's the whole of the film, effectively, kind of shortened down in one. It then ends with the music of like the really subtle, like really sad, happy music that, again, I don't know why they didn't put something more upbeat, but you know, it's that sort of music, and it shows everything happening where Ash is leaving, and they find Alva. You know, he tries to escape, but he can't because he's got one of those bands on him. You generally get the idea of what happens within this thing, and I was saying, everyone's like, bye, the waving, and it's just like they do it for like a minute. It's constant waving goodbye. Now it comes into the nice subtlety of what's going to happen in the future, how everyone's continuing living their lives, and that's pretty much it. My kind of whole thoughts on it. Story-wise, I really enjoyed this one. It's possibly one of my favourite Pokemon films because it was consistent. There wasn't things to annoy me like previous ones. This one wasn't that bad. There were things that did annoy me, like it could have been edited slightly better, like the really short clips that could have been linked together to make a better point. The whole thing, like when they're being interviewed, where they're being talked to, it's like the small cutaways I think could have been taken away. And again, as I said previously, when they start talking about the whole city and what happened, you know, they say it once and then it's repeated again, and I didn't think that needed to be in. It could have been edited together, so like one person starts talking and then the other person kind of finishes it all off. But I did like the fact that they all geeked out over it. Like Clement was like, oh my god, that's so amazing, it's amazing, this whole city is awesome. I really like that part. So I could talk about Ash and all the others as in the character section, but I'm not. I'm going to talk about the main ones in the film. So first of all, Volcanion. He was a douche. He was a massive dick pretty much until the end, and I didn't really like this. When they took about those bands off, I generally thought at that point he would have been fine with Ash. He would have been fine with all the others. That he wouldn't say anything bad and that he would trust them halfway through the film. But as soon as the bands were taken, it's like, oh, I'm going back to square one. I'm going back to the point where you first met me, and I didn't really like that. It showed some progression of the character, but then it's like, whew, you're going back to square one. And it wasn't until the very end is when he started trusting in Ash, and that I kind of felt was a downside to the character. Now Megira, not gonna do it. I've probably said her name multiple times as Megia, whatever, but Megira was one of those characters that it's typical in all the films I've seen. It's not different, it's not unique, it's same person that loves everybody, that loves nature, that produces flowers. I did like, and I didn't mention this, but I did like it when she wanted to attack, she just created massive beams of, like, from her hands where she produced flowers and stuff. Now I could see that her character was a support character. Her character was meant to give hope to the others and to make other people happy, but I don't know what I would have done differently. I think I would have made her a little bit more hardcore, and I would have done something else with the character, but it just felt like a typical generic character, a generic Pokemon that wasn't something special. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Alva was different. I found that he was the type of bad guy that turned around and got the job done. It wasn't like faffing about, it was just, I want that, I got that, I did what I needed to, put it in the machine, boom, done. And I really like just went cast the body off the side, because that to me was a tiny little bit dark. It was just like, don't need this anymore, bye. So apart from all that, it also did remind me of every single Pokemon bad guy that we've had that's been in these films. It's like, oh, there's nothing different. I would quite like it if Pokemon set up like a character that would travel with Ash, that would build their trust and then suddenly turn into a bad guy. That to me would be awesome for like one of the next films. But again, the Alva just felt like a generic bad guy that didn't learn his lesson, and so yeah. Prince Rolly, again, a generic character to me. He, it was more like, oh, I'm trusting this person, he can't be done. And while everyone turned around and said, no, don't trust him, he's a bad guy. No, I trust him. Wait, you lied to me, no! Oh, it just really kind of got to me that it was a character that was nothing special, and I hate to say it, just nothing special. I like the fact that he was into science and that he looked up to people for, inspiration, but then again, you'd kind of think that with all that, he would turn around and not trust everyone 100%. But yeah, I just felt that he could have been a better character. I kind of thought Rolly could have been a little bit less trusting, rather than, hey, I'm going to trust Alva with all my heart and soul, and that's it. And then suddenly when he was like, no, you betrayed me, I didn't like that part. It just felt like generically, like all the other films, nothing, oh, I trusted you, no, you let me down. Oh, so again, the film could have been like, he was a kind of big part-ish, but it just felt like there was no part. He could, if he was taken out, I wouldn't even notice he was gone. The princess came here. I thought she was a good character. It would have been cool if she took Rolly's role as well, where she believed Alva and then all of a sudden knew what he was doing, and then boom, went back in normally, and then like just wants to get a vendetta against him. That's what I think would have been cool, and I think it would have been slightly better. But again, like, I couldn't see the film happening without her, and I kind of liked her as a character. So there we go, guys. That is my review of Pokemon the Movie Volcanion and the Mechanical Marvel. I'm so glad I got that right. I've always been calling it magical. Either way, it was a good film. I would recommend buying it if you can. Links in the description to where you can buy it, where you can pre-order it. I would definitely recommend checking it out, and I can't wait for the next lot. Anyway, so what did you think about it? Did you like the film? Did you not? Let me know down below in the description, and all links are in the description on where you can buy it and where you can see it. So definitely worth checking out. Let me know what your favorite Pokemon film is, as well as your Pokemon series, as well as your favorite character, as well as Pokemon. And you're not allowed to say Pikachu because everyone will just say, I like Pikachu. So let me know about all that in the comments down below. And if you've liked this video, like, favorite, comment, and subscribe. Check out all the other videos on the channel. And as always, Rangers, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in a bit.